Hi, and welcome to Keep It German, the podcast where we dive into all aspects of migrating to Germany and making it your new life here.
Yes, and in this episode, we have a very special one. We're going to have a very interesting topic for everyone who wants to come to work to Germany. So, we are talking about the first steps that you need to do when you want to come to work to Germany.
The first steps after arriving, so the first days, the first weeks, because we know it can be very overwhelming.
So if you don't know, there's a lot of steps that you need to follow once you arrive to Germany. So this process is very confusing. Some people miss some steps, and it can lead to some difficulties
And
along the way. Mistakes. So in order to avoid them, we're going to give you like a practical guidance of what to do once you arrive.
Yes. So before you come to Germany, the first and most important thing you need to do is having the right visa.
Exactly.
So if you want to work in Germany, you need to apply for a working visa at your local consulate. Because I see that a lot of people come to Germany with a tourist visa, a so-called Schengen visa, and then they want to switch from this Schengen visa to a work visa at the local immigration office. And that is for most nationalities not possible.
Yes, exactly. So from the beginning, you need to get the right visa in order to be able to work in Germany. So don't believe that if you come to as a tourist or just visiting, that you are going to be able to switch if you find a job. Actually, that's not allowed. So it's better to get the right visa from the very beginning. And yes, that's like the most important step because it is also like something that you need to do for following steps. For example, when you are getting your Aufenthaltstitel, residence permit, we're going to talk about it in a few minutes. But yes, that's like some previous steps that you need to get it done beforehand.
Yes, that's correct. So after arriving with your visa, with your work visa, I think one of the next necessary steps is to finding an accommodation, to find
an
apartment. A lot of people try to find an apartment before they arrive, but it's really difficult.
Well, it's very difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what has been your experience in this regard? Like, what would you recommend to someone who is coming to Germany?
So, because it is so difficult and there are a lot of options and it's very difficult to get to know, okay, where should I live exactly? How is the city built? What are nice neighborhoods? I would always recommend try to find an Airbnb that is very centric or maybe an hotel accommodation and then stay there for the first few weeks and the first few months and then switch to a permanent apartment, to a permanent address.
Well, I know that some people have done that. Or, for example, from the job, they get an apartment already. So when they come, the company pays sometimes for the flight and the accommodation of the first 3 months. And once you are established, you need to search for your own apartment and pay you by your own. But in my opinion, I have also known some people that get an apartment before traveling to Germany, and I'm not quite sure if it's the best option, but it's obviously the most comfortable one if you choose the right apartment. But in this regard, you also need to be very careful because there are some horror stories in which some people get scammed. So sometimes people know, like people in Germany know the Betrüger. How do you say that? I don't know.
Well,
criminals. Criminals know that a lot of immigrants come to Germany and they are searching apartments
desperately.
And there's a lot of scams in this regard. So when you are searching for one, make sure that you look at photos. That at the best case, if you're not in Germany already, make a video call with the person who is renting the apartment. Also, ask for some proof of existence of the apartment in order to avoid some scams, because I know for a fact that a lot of friends and known people have been scammed because sometimes they ask, for example, for the deposit of the department.
Yeah.
I don't know, they ask for 2,000 euros.
Which is also very common, no?
Yeah.
You pay a deposit before.
But I don't know, once you get the keys maybe,
Yes,
or something like
that's
that.
what I wanted
but
to
not
tell
before,
now. Not before, yeah.
Getting a contract or
Yes,
something like that.
yes, yeah.
So the first thing is to get a contract, get the keys, and then make any type of payment.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, you are like not required to do it, and it is also not very recommendable.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. One other option or one other tip is to find a shared accommodation, the so-called WGs here in Germany. I think this is also more easy than to find like an apartment for yourself, because they do also a lot of online applications. Like you can get to know the people online. They can show you also the apartment with the camera. And I heard a lot of good things that you also can find a shared place being outside of Germany and then arriving and having already a place to stay.
Yes. I mean, this is mainly for people who don't have a very big budget, I believe, like who prefer to have just one room and then share, I don't know, the kitchen, bed, and so forth. This may be cheaper, but yes, I don't know. Some people prefer to live alone. And it also depends on your budget, right? So if you have a good budget, you can find an apartment really easily, because there are apartments available, but they are expensive.
Yes.
So if you want to search for something in a good price that has a good size in a good location, it may be very difficult, and then it's a WG or something like that a good option. But if your budget is a little bit bigger, it may be easier to find an apartment alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will not always say that it depends on your budget. It also depends a lot on maybe your age too. If you're like younger and you don't have a lot of connections here, don't have a social environment still, that's a good way to get to know people, to get to know, to make new friends, because these people that are living there potentially will show them also their friends, and then it's easy also, you know, to
make new connections,
to get a better social life here in Germany.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's people that prefer to live alone, and there's people that prefer to get to know other people. But yes,
that's why I say maybe it's also like an age depending thing, you know, if you're younger, and personality too. That's true. Yeah. But those are good options. And why is it so important to find an apartment in Germany? It's because you need an address to get your registration.
And not only that, but later a bank account too. Yeah. But yes, registration is very important.
Registration is like the holy grail of Germany. And without registration, you don't get a bank account, you don't get a phone number, you don't get like everything that comes along. You don't get it without the registration confirmation. And this registration, you do it at your local town hall of your city, and you have to do it in the first 2 weeks after arrival. Yeah, so
registration is about saying that you live in a certain place. So every city has a local town hall in which you go, and you, I don't know, not subscribe, but you register as a citizen of that location.
Yes.
So every time you move also inside Germany, you need to do the registration again. So every city has its own registry. And as you said, it's super important for every kind of tramit, like phone services, bank account, whatever. You always need to show that, like, in some way you need to show that you are registered.
You need to show proof of registration, like you get a document from them, a formal document that tells exactly where you live, and it's an official document. So with that, you can do the next processes.
Yes.
And to do your local registration, you need to get the Wohnungsgeberbescheinigung. It's a very long name. It's actually also a confirmation from your landlord. That is why if you on the first weeks stay in a hotel or an Airbnb, make sure that the people there can give you this type of document, the Wohnungsgeberbescheinigung.
Yes.
So you can register under that address. That is possible. I've seen a lot of cases where that's possible.
Yeah, actually, so let's make it clear. So there is the Wohnungsgeberbescheinigung, this kind of
landlord
confirmation, and there is also the Mietvertrag, that is the housing contract. So there are two different things.
Yeah.
I mean, it says almost the same. Like in normal cases, the landlord is also the same one to which you have your housing contract. In some cases, it isn't like that, but it's mostly like that. And this confirmation of your house, you get it by, like, it's just it can be an informal letter. Like,
yes.
It can be also, there's some kind of templates online. So it is like a normal letter in which your landlord states that you are living in that specific house or apartment, whatever.
Yeah.
So it is very important that you don't confuse it with the housing contract.
Yes, that's correct. That's a good tip. Yeah.
And yes, as you were saying, you need to do it at the local office. And what else?
You need to do it in the first 2 weeks.
Exactly, the first 2 weeks after your arrival.
So you can do your appointment online. Most local town halls, they have their online platform where you can register for an appointment. But we know that this mostly is booked out everywhere. So it can take more than 2 weeks. It is in the law, it says the first 2 weeks, but they know that the appointments are very hard to get. So it can take also 1 month, 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, like the important thing is that you contact or make the appointment in the first 2 weeks. If you get the appointment later on, it's not your fault anymore.
Yeah.
But it's important that you contact your local office in these 2 weeks.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, Germany is a very bureaucratic country. So this is one of the first and many steps that you will encounter. And yeah, one of also, I think the important next steps is to opening a bank account.
A basic one.
A basic one, of course, because you want to get your salary, of course. So yeah, here in Germany, there are a lot of online banks.
Yes, neobanks, also traditional banks. So there are banks that are only online. They don't have any filiale locations, like physical stores. They are pure online, but you can still get cash out of ATMs like around the city.
Yes.
So yes, I don't know if you have any tips in this regard.
Yes, I think I would recommend an online bank account just because the registration is far more fast and easier than with a local bank, and also cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah,
so in Germany, there are this so-called Girokonto, and many of the online banks offer it for free.
Yes.
And if you're a worker in some other banks, you need to pay like €5, €10, maybe some banks up to €20. It depends, obviously. But there are, as I said, some free options. You get a debit card also, like MasterCard or Visa, and you can pay anywhere with it.
Anywhere.
And you can receive your salary in that. And we will also put some links of known banks here in Germany.
That we recommend.
So yes, you get some recommendations. I mean, the most typical ones are N26, I would say.
Yeah,
ING, Revolut, obviously.
Revolut, yes.
Very known European bank. Germany, on German only, C24, like C24. And
Comdirect.
Yeah, also. Comdirect. And from the traditional ones, I recommend a lot Commerzbank. I used to be in that bank, and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's a good traditional bank, but also, for example, ING has also some physical stores, and also Santander. Some people may know it.
Yeah.
And Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank. No, that's not
Deutsche
a bank.
Bank.
Yeah, exactly. Like the most known bank.
Known bank. Yes, that's correct.
But I have heard that people have not good experience with that bank.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have heard the same.
No, from Deutsche Bank I never heard anything. Mostly from Sparkasse, Postbank.
Yes, Sparkasse.
I would not recommend it. I know we cannot maybe like give recommendations, but I really would not recommend it.
I when I came to Germany for the first time, I had Sparkasse.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to switch because in my town where I used to live, they didn't have an ATM to put cash in, like only to get cash out. And I needed to travel to another city wait until the opening hours
of the bank
for the bank to open and give the money to the cashier in person.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way to put my cash in the bank.
Yes.
And so it is better. Normally, the bigger the bank, the better.
Yes.
They have better services and it's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So opening a bank account is not like as fast as maybe in other countries. It can take like 2 weeks because they will send you a lot of letters. They will send you first the letter with the PIN, then the letter with your card, then the letter with your online banking account, and so on and so forth. So you will receive maybe 10 letters all in all.
Well, not 10 letters, but
it's a lot of letters like that you receive.
3 letters. Yes.
So be prepared that you will receive a lot of letters. You will need to look in your mailbox like every day to see if there's a new letter, not only from the bank but also from other stuff. But yeah.
Yes, and this is because of German regulation. They have strict rules for the communication in these cases. For example, for your PIN of the credit card or for the activation of your online banking. Yeah. So they need to send separate letters and then you need one letter to unlock the next one. So that is why it takes a long time to activate fully your German account.
Yeah.
But I mean, to open the German account is quite easy, but then to activate the online banking, activate your card, that's the hard
process that takes a bit longer.
Exactly, the process that takes longer.
Yeah. One letter that you also receive once you get the registration, that's also very important, is the tax ID.
Mm-hmm.
So the tax ID is given to you by the financial authority.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an ID that you will get your whole life. So even if you, for example, let's say you arrive in Germany and after 1 year you decide to move back and then you decide to move back in Germany again, the tax ID remains the same. And this tax ID you receive after the first registration in Germany. You receive a letter also 4 to 6 weeks after. Mm-hmm. And this tax ID you also your employer needs it too, so he can pay you the salary.
Exactly. So that's also an ID that you use in your tax declaration and other type of tramits once you are in Germany. So it is super important to keep in mind that to always know your ID, your tax ID. That's one of the things that all Germans have without a doubt, like a tax ID and a Versicherung, like a Krankenkasseversicherung.
A health insurance.
That is a health insurance. So that's another step.
Yes.
After coming to Germany, you need to get a German health insurance, not a travel insurance. You are traveling to Germany with a travel insurance. You need it for your visa. But once you are here, you need to activate or apply for a German health insurance.
Yes.
It can be public or private. However, we recommend the public one.
The public one, Normally, if you come as an employer, your as an employee, your employer is the one that applies for you at the public health insurance. They always give out recommendations, and so he's the one that needs to apply for you there. So you need to clear this out with your employer first.
But I believe you say which insurance you have, and then they normally take it.
No, if you, for example, come to Germany without a health insurance, the employer like can give you some recommendations, like let's say they work with TK.
Yes.
Yeah, so they then tell you, okay, we would recommend for you to apply with TK, and they can do the application for you
They
too.
can do it.
Yes,
but
they
if
normally
you don't
do it.
If you don't want it, if you don't want
If
TK,
you
if
don't
you
want
want
it,
AOK or
of
whatever,
course you can do then by
HKK
yourself.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you do it by yourself, and then you give the confirmation papers of your health insurance to your employer.
Yeah, or
so
you.
there are these two different ways of doing it.
Yes, or you, for example, it's easier that your employer does it for you. So let's say he does it with their known health insurance, and then after 1 month, if you find out that there's even a better health insurance that you would like, you can always switch.
Yes.
So that's never a problem.
Yes.
And you can always switch also from public to private health insurance, but it's very difficult then to switch from private to public.
So yes, I mean, it doesn't make sense to get into details in this topic because it will be a podcast by itself. So in Germany, normally you have the possibility to have a private health insurance that it may be cheaper at the beginning of your career.
Yeah.
However, once you get older, monthly not subscription, but payments that you need to do to the insurance increase by a lot.
Yes.
So or also, for example, if you get sick, you can also start paying much more with the pass of time, as in comparison to the public health insurance.
Yes.
So the public health insurance is quite expensive in Germany. It increases also depending on your salary. So it is also it is only depending on your salary, the amount you pay to the health insurance, the public one.
Because you pay a percentage.
Yes,
always.
so it's percentage based. And yes, in this regard, it may be a little bit unfair, for example, that, I don't know, someone who is sick pays the same as much as someone who is totally healthy and never uses the health insurance. However, this is how the system is built. So it's not communitarian system, but there is a word in German that I forgot. But yes, it's a system which,
like one for all for one.
Yes, exactly. It's something like that. But yes, as you said, if you want to switch to the private one because it is cheaper at the beginning of your career or when you are young, and then you want to switch to the public one after a few years, once the private one is more expensive, the law doesn't allow it.
Yes.
Exactly because of that, because they realized that a lot of people was doing this switch between public and private in order to save some money, and they canceled that, made it forbidden. And yes, so it is better to stay with the public one.
Yes.
In my opinion, for your whole life.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a lot of variety, a lot of options. I mean, the most famous one is the Techniker Krankenkasse, TK.
The AOK. Barma.
And also the cheapest one is HKK, HKK. And yes, there are 1,000 more. So,
and they all cost the same. It's a difference about 10-20 euros.
Yes, but I mean, if you choose an expensive one and you compare it to the less expensive, to the cheaper one, you can, I don't know, maybe save some 200-300 euros per year. So in the long run, it may be something that you want to consider, to choose a cheaper one. But as you said, the difference is not super huge.
Yeah. And also, a very interesting thing here with the health insurance, it is deducted from your salary automatically each month. So you don't need to pay your health insurance by yourself, like separately. It is deducted from your salary each month. Your employer is the one that gives out the percentage that you pay to the health insurance. He pays it directly to the health insurance provider.
Exactly. So when you get your Abrechnungsbescheinigung,
your
payslip, exactly, you see the deducted cost for the health insurance there. So
for every kind of insurance, actually.
Exactly. So yes, there's like 1,000 insurances. Yeah. But the one that you may need to do actively yourself is the public health insurance.
Yes.
At the very beginning, because that's like a must that you have. But then you have, I don't know, Unfähigkeitsversicherung.
Arbeitslosenversicherung.
Arbeitslosenversicherung. Like there's tons of insurances that you can get. Yeah. However, these are not mandatory. But maybe we can do an episode
about the insurance
about
topic.
Insurances.
Yes, because it, as you said, it is a whole topic for itself. Yeah. Germany is the land of insurances.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yes, once you get that done, the public health insurance or private, what's the next step? Is there another thing that you need to consider?
Well, there are a lot of next steps.
Well, the most important one of the most important ones.
To get your residence permit,
yes,
of course.
Residence permit. So when you're in Germany, you come with your visa, working visa, but to stay here, you need to get a residence permit.
Yeah, because your visa is only valid for 3 to 6 months.
Exactly.
Mostly.
So in order to get that, you need to get all the other documents that we just spoke about. So you need to get your bank account, registration, health insurance certificate. You need to gather all these other documents that we just talked about and apply for a residence permit at your immigration office. So also important, every city has a different immigration office.
Yes.
So you need to apply for the immigration office in which you live in. So if you live in Berlin, you can only apply to a Berlin immigration office.
Yes.
If you live, for example, Potsdam, that is also a very known city for internationals, that is close to Berlin and everyone goes to work to Berlin, they need to apply for the immigration office in Potsdam, not in Berlin.
Where you live, where you are registered.
Where you live, where you are registered, exactly. So you don't get to do this mistake because it happens a lot.
Yeah, and also do it as fast as possible.
Yes.
We always talk about this, but I would say like in the first 3 months after arriving, inform yourself about the application at the local immigration office. And if you can, do your application right when you gathered all your documents, so as soon as possible, because it can take a long time for you to receive your residence permit.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you like some sense of how long it may take, at some offices, immigration offices, once you apply, you need to get an appointment. So in order to get the response for the appointment, that may take, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, or sometimes even more, like 6 months.
Yes.
And once you get the appointment, then you need to wait for the appointment. And that's another 3 months to 1 month or even more time.
Yeah.
So it depends a lot in which city you live in. The bigger the city, the more you are going to wait normally. However, it is not always the case. Like it may depend in which city you live in and how long it takes. But yes, so now you know that, for example, your visa is valid for 6 months. And that means that after the 6 months, you need to have your residence permit already.
Yeah, or at least an extension.
Or at least an extension.
Because then you cannot work.
Exactly. Yeah. So you are going to get in trouble at work if you don't have a residence permit or a valid, document.
Yeah.
And
that
then
permits you to stay here legally.
Exactly. And if you don't get the appointment in the period of time in which you have your visa, you can get a Fiktionsbescheinigung.
An interim permit.
Exactly, that's an interim permit. Thank you for the translation of every word that is a little bit more technical. But yes, this permit is exactly only for the transition, because the immigration offices are so overbooked with such a high demand that they are getting used to
expedite those types of like interim permits. Exactly. While you wait for your appointment.
Yeah, exactly. So you may get it for 6 months or 1 year.
Yes.
Until you get your appointment at the immigration office.
Yeah, I saw even people that got like interim permits two times. Both expedited for 1 year.
No.
Yeah, so that's.
Well, it depends. As I said, in which city you live.
Yeah.
It's
some
that's
cities, the worst case. Yeah.
Yes, and it is actually getting better, I believe, or at least that's what we have heard in some cities.
Depends on which city. Yeah.
It depends on which city you're talking about, but yes, that is also a topic that we're going to discuss further down in this podcast because of OptiMigration and the platform that we're building exactly to tackle this problem. But yes, in order to stay on topic, you need to consider that the residence permit needs to be applied for as soon as possible, like as soon as you can. And don't forget it, because you're going to get trouble with your employer.
Yes, and you can also not travel outside of Germany and go back inside. So it is very, very important to have a valid permit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think those were the most important things you need to know after arriving in Germany. Of course, there are a lot more that we can also talk about in the next podcast. Just write us down in the comments which topics you would like for us to speak about.
Or if something was not clear enough, we could also explain it in more detail in further podcasts.
Yes.
I will recommend you to write down whatever question you have, and we will try to answer them along the road in this podcast.
Yes. Okay, then thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.